You know, I've always said you don't accomplish anything by yourself. All through the years, since our family got involved with these horses, we had some help, especially with our parents at the beginning. You know, they let us use their land, and I owned some land at the time. Well, we don't own land, but I was temporarily renting land from FHA, I guess you could say. You know, there's been a lot of people in the last 40 years, and especially at the beginning, when nobody cared about these horses. Nobody knew anything about these horses. So it's been a long, tough road. I made a promise to these horses 40 years ago that I could be their spokesperson. They can speak confirmation-wise, but they cannot speak verbally wise. So Leo and I, you know, had to become their verbal voice. So I made a commitment to them, and it's not been easy, but nobody's lives are easy. Everybody has to deal with their ups and downs in life and their, you know, issues. I mean, if life was easy, there wouldn't be any issues anywhere in this world. Yeah. But, you know, we dealt with a lot of issues. We dealt with the drought in 88, 89, 90, and that's when we were acquired, that time frame, we were acquiring more and more horses. So, but we've always had help, whether some of it be just, thank you. You know, I really appreciate what you're doing. And at some times, in both Leo's and my life, that simple thank you of appreciation and, you know, really helped, you know, because you question what you're doing. You were going up against the national park, the Theodore Roosevelt National Park, and their wild horse experts. You know, so we've been fortunate with Dr. Cassie McLaughlin, who we met at the 1986 Roundup. The park would round up, and then they'd sell the horses in public auction, and they would rotate the auction barns in Dickinson, North Dakota. But we met Dr. Castle McLaughlin there. Leo and I were sitting there, you know, buying them. All we had to do is pay a penny over or two over, you know, kill price. So we bought a bunch of them up already, and that was the year they pulled out, if I remember correctly, 52 that we bought that year. And there was a bunch of studs that came in. One was a big, pretty blue roan. Well, there were a couple of blue roans. There was a younger one. Leo was sitting there bidding, and there's this young lady. She's bidding them up, and bidding them up. And so Leo stopped the auction. He asked the auctioneer, you know, well, how many does she want? And she indicated one. So Leo and I quickly discussed amongst ourselves. There was a younger blue stud in there we thought she was interested in. Not this older rank. I mean, these horses are entirely different, you know, than what they were. I mean, I shouldn't say entirely different, but the way they were chased in that park and you know, constantly harassed, you know, they had a lot of flight in them. a lot of flight. So, but anyway, we're going, okay, she's not going to buy that big stud. Leo says, let her have one. Sure enough, she bought that big stud. We were after the sale, we were out in the alleyways, where they had the horses penned up, looking at the horses, and down the alley comes Castle, and if looks could have killed, she would have killed us with her looks. She just assumed Leo and I were kill buyers. Leo said, you mind if I ask you what you're going to do with that stud? Plainly pretty well says, really none of your business. But we started talking, we developed a friendship, and Castle had rented someone's pickup or borrowed a friend's pickup, borrowed a little 2-horse trailer, acquired some drugs, and I'm not sure how she thought she'd ever get the drug into that horse to quietly load them. And she had a key to some of the gates, the back, because she was working for the park at the time. And she had a key, so she was gonna turn him back out, because she said, them park rangers, they don't know one horse from the other, one stud from the other. They don't know no difference that he's back. So she ended up doing, 3 to 5 years. Well, it took 5 years for the historical research. And it was partially funded by the Theodore Roosevelt National Park and the Theodore Roosevelt Historical Society. I think that's what it was. And her research showed that, these horses have been there, and that they did come, partially, not all of them. Well, the horse that was out there, these were the last places settled by the white man up here in the northern plains, and the horse that was out there was a native Indian horse. But so her research, brought up a number of things. Theodore Roosevelt, he had 2 ranches out there. He made a quote about, his ranch was the same as any other outfit, whether his horses be from the wild or from the natives. Heidi Cooper, who he was a wealthy businessman out of Pennsylvania. He helped finance part of the Revolutionary War. No, not the Revolutionary.
Civil.
One of the wars he helped finance, and in return he got his family ended up with owning a lot of land in Pennsylvania. But he came out here and started ranching, and he ended up being one of the largest horse ranchers in the world down there by Amadon. He ran anywhere from 4,000 to 7,000 head. He had numerous different types of studs. He supplied horses for carriage work, military. He supplied all different kinds of horses and bred all different kinds of horses. Heidi Cooper seen the value, and so did Marquita Morris. His intention was to raise them in a large scale, but he seen the value of these horses, their hardiness, their sure-footedness, their ability to survive in these harsh environments. But he also wanted to have a hotter-blooded horse that had them kind of characteristics, and he handpicked 62 of Sitting Bull's mares that the Marquita Morris had purchased, and he crossed them with his thoroughbred stud. In 1884, he called that cross the American horse. He sold some out east for polo ponies, for over, $1,800, $16, $14. That's a lot of money for a horse back then. So, there's a lot of horse history there. Your native people, your Hunkpaka, your Lakota, that horse was a gift from their creator, just like the bison, just like every blade of grass. Everything is a gift from Mother Earth. And their oral history is that they've always had the horse. But anyway, like I started to say, you don't do anything without help. And we've been fortunate to have help. Been very fortunate to be able to work with Paul and his family and have this facility to continue to increase this horse herd. Been fortunate to meet very many people. So many people that have come in and stepped up to the plate and are helping to make sure this breed survives. And that's why we're all here, is to make sure this type of horse survives for hopefully, whatever you want to call eternity, but hopefully. So I'm very grateful for all the help. Because if that help wouldn't be there, as I said, we wouldn't be sitting here talking about these horses. And they need a future, and they're very unique in a lot of different ways. They're some of the most compassionate, smartest horses I've ever been around. They're some of the healthiest, hardiest horses I've ever been around. I grew up with horses all my life. There's just a time frame when I wasn't around them. So I'm glad that we can continue to get help. And we need to know that our struggles are going to be tougher and tougher. I mean, we're dealing with a drought. But if we can work together, we can make it work. So with that, I say thank you.
Thank you, Frank.
Thanks, Frank.